There it is. Okay. So you're going to need a strap or a scarf or something of some sort to hold onto your leg with. We'll use that for a couple of things later. We'll do some hamstring lengthening today. We're going to be working towards Heron pose and using the strap to open that up without getting too wild with it. But there's this internal fire that really requires us to like lift up and engage and keep moving forward and outwards in this pose, even though it's a forward fold, even though it's very internal. There's still this lift up that comes from, I call it the puppy bird chest, the lifting of the spine. I was talking with my teacher the other day about how we seem to have this like need as humans to find something that is greater than ourselves to put our focus, our attention, our belief into. And what's really interesting about the philosophy behind yoga and also found in like Hinduism and Buddhism is that this thing that is greater than us is a part of us. And that which is greater than us is something that everybody shares. There's this little piece and this little spark inside of everybody, even people that we may not necessarily agree with their choices and their belief systems and their actions and their words. And part of the value in sticking with ahimsa, the practice of nonviolence, is knowing that when we have disparaging remarks or actions towards others, we're really also causing damage and being violent against this beautiful oneness that we all share. When I was in college, I used to play this game with my friends, and I always thought it was kind of weird because I was a bit of a loner as a kid. We called it your team. Like if you see somebody who has like a bad haircut or a weird jacket, you'd be like, oh my God, they're on your team. And the idea is like you want to like bulk up somebody else's team with like the people you don't want to have on your team. And one of the first things that I changed about my social practices when I first started teaching yoga was to stop playing that game. So I was like, this just has felt icky the whole time. I'm not okay with it. This is why. You know, all of us are worthy and wonderful, and sometimes I am going to be that person who somebody might want to throw on somebody else's team, and I don't want to have that kind of negative energy either coming from me or directed at me. And so that is my practice, is to make sure that I'm not creating that false divide of us and them. I am nerdy and have bad hair too, and I'm still worthy of being loved, as we all are. Take your hands and place them somewhere on your body that feels good to you. You can place them on your heart if you're feeling a little bit weak and needing some fire stoked up. Sometimes the belly is a good place. You can rub around on the legs, whatever feels good to you. Just take a few deep breaths. And check in with the body that you brought to the mat today. And the Om that we begin our practice with, that sound is a sound of connection. It is said that it is the sound that the universe makes. It is an acknowledging of the oneness that we share, not just with other human beings, but with all parts of this incredible world that we live in. I say incredible because sometimes it's stir crazy and weird and scary, but there's beauty in all of it. There's beauty that we all share. Take another deep breath in through your nose. Big exhale through the mouth. Another time like that. For 3 ohms. We're going to begin practice on our backs today. Go ahead and lay yourself down. Make sure that you've got your scarf or your strap somewhere within arm's reach just so that you could grab it when we're ready for it. And start lying down. Bring your knees into your chest. Give yourself a little rock around and let your body greet the floor, greet the mat. Relaxing into your back. And then start to sprawl out. Go ahead and extend your legs out and forward and reach your arms back. You can go out to the side. Maybe you have bent elbows depending on your space. Wiggle your legs out away from you and let your belly stretch open in the front. Take another big breath in. Feel yourself stretching out through the center. Relax as you exhale. Again, like that. Inhale, reach up nice and long. Exhale, relax. And then bring your knees in. I'm going to bring your knees up above your hips. Toes draw back to your shins. Shins are parallel with the ceiling. Place your hands on your knees. Press your hands and your knees against each other so that the belly wraps towards the spine and a little bit of heat starts building in the belly. Take a breath in. Take a breath out. Release your feet down. Just give yourself a little break, a little rest. And then you're going to take your hands and slide your fingertips underneath your hips so that you've got some more support. And then lift your legs up to the same position. Maybe wiggle your shoulder blades in a little bit more so the heart is open. You're going to lift the inner thighs to feel a little bit of fire in the belly. And on your exhale, drop your right heel just a couple of inches, maybe a foot or so down towards the floor. Inhale as you lift those inner thighs to bring the legs back together. Exhale, drop the left leg. And inhale, lift it up. Exhale, drop the right. Now as you move through these movements, you don't have to have your whole spine firmly pressed down onto the mat. But as you move, the amount of pressure on the mat shouldn't change. So if you drop the leg and your belly lifts up, you're going to want to drop the leg less. So just go about 2 more times each side. Keep lifting those inner thighs to come back to the center. You're probably on your last round. And then once you're done, go ahead and set your feet down. Reach your arms back behind you. Slide those feet out nice and long again. Wiggle your belly out, wiggle your hips and legs out a little bit longer. Get lots of space. Take an inhale. Exhale. And then bend into your knees. You're going to take your strap or your scarf, your t-shirt, whatever you've got. You're going to loop it around the bottom of your right foot. And then you could hold on with just the one hand or wrap around your knuckles. And don't worry about how close the leg is towards your face. It could be very far away. If it's a little bit closer, make sure you're still able to get the legs straight. And think of the foot pressing out into the strap. You can think of all sorts of other things, worrying about what the muscles in your face are doing. Try to keep the shoulder open. Try to keep the hip down on the mat. But above all else, make sure first that you know that the foot is pressing out into the strap. You have this movement outwards through the sole of the foot. Take a big breath in. Take a big breath out. Once more, big breath in. Big breath out. And then bend your knee a little bit. See if you can bring the leg a little bit closer towards you. And now don't worry at all about how straight the leg gets, but try to push the foot into the strap. Just see if the leg gets a little bit straighter. And then exhale, soften that. And inhale, push the foot into the strap. It's okay if the leg doesn't get straight. Exhale, soften. It doesn't need to be a big movement, a big change. One more inhale. And then exhale, soften. You're going to take your left leg, go ahead and extend it out. It doesn't have to get straight. It could just get a little bit further away from you. And then you're going to turn the toes out to the right. Hold the strap with your left hand and guide the leg across the body. And you could use the other hand too. Doesn't really matter which one. I find it easier if it's allowed on the body to grab with the opposite hand. Make sure that the toe and the knee are facing away. You should get a nice stretch to the outside of your hip, that very outside hamstring. Take a breath in. Take a breath out. Come back to the center. You're going to bend into your left leg. Put the sole of the foot on the floor. Take the strap or the scarf, set it off to your side, and you're going to make the right leg very straight, and it might have to go away from you quite a bit. And you're just going to draw the toes a little bit closer to your face and let them move away. And then a little bit closer to your face and let them move away. Keep pushing out through the sole of your foot. It's just a little hinging of the foot a little bit closer to you. Do that one more time. And then bend into your right leg. Put the sole of the foot down. Oh. Caffeinated the right side. Let's work through the left. You're going to take your strap or your scarf and loop it around the bottom of the left foot. You'll notice I go more for having the heel as what I've got the strap around, just because that really allows me to press the leg, extending it out into the strap, and that's my focus, trying to keep the foot pressing outwards. I want a straight leg. I want the foot pressing out. We'll get the leg a little bit closer to the body in a moment, but for now, really working on that straight leg, pushing the foot out into the scarf. Maybe noticing if your shoulders or your face are tense. Your breath is still moving. Nice. 2 more breaths. Push that foot out into the strap. And then as you exhale, soften a bit. So you're going to bring that knee a little bit closer towards you. It doesn't have to be a lot. And now your leg doesn't have to get straight. We're just going to start to think a little bit more about pushing the foot out into the strap and noticing what happens. And then exhale, softening, and then inhale, pushing the foot out into the strap. And exhale, softening. Do it 2 more times. Push it out. Relax. Push it out. Relax. And then take both ends of the strap into your right hand. You're going to slide that left leg out. Turn your knee and your toe on that left leg out to the left, and then move your heel over towards the right. And it doesn't go very far, maybe 12 inches at the probably absolute maximum. And then you're getting that stretch to the outside of the left thigh. Take a breath in. Take a breath out. And then bring the leg back up. You're going to bend into your right leg, put the foot on the floor. Again, take the strap off of your foot. And then you want to make the leg straight. It can be very far away from you. It's okay if it's not totally straight, but try to extend the foot out and then bring that leg a little bit closer to you and let it go away. A little bit closer and away. Keep feeling like the sole of your foot was pushing out like a high five. 1 more. And then bend your left leg, put the foot down on the ground. Go ahead and slide yourself out nice and long again. Take another big breath in. Ooh, excuse me. Head relax as you exhale. And then bring your knees into your chest. You're going to come up onto your hands and knees. You can be on fingertips instead. You could also be on elbows. That will work too if you want to keep all of the weight off of your hands, wherever it seems like a good place for you to be. You're just going to slide your right leg out to the right. Maybe gently push your tailbone up and back. One more breath in. One more breath out. And then bring that right leg in. And send your left leg off to the side. And you could be down on one or both elbows. Try not to round through your back. Think about your tailbone lengthening back. It may not ever get back there. It's not that important that it does. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. And then start to come back to the center. We're going to bring that left leg in. We're going to come into downward facing dog. Our next thing will be a forward fold. If you're able to stay in downward dog, you'll be there finding strength through the backs of the shoulders, pressing down into all of the fingertips. Walk through your heels a little bit. And then hang out in that fold. If you need to be in your forward fold, you're still going to think of these muscles moving the way that I say. Think of your hamstrings floating upwards. And think of your calves melting downwards. One more breath. Hamstrings floating upwards. Calves melting downwards. And then bring your hands and your feet a little bit closer together. Finding your forward fold. Your feet are a couple of inches apart. Bring your hands to your hips. Draw your elbows back. Lift your belly and come up nice and slow. Make sure your belly is lifting you all the way up. When you get up to standing, roll the shoulders and the elbows back. Let your hips lean just a tiny bit forward. And let your heart float up. Maybe your eyes start to lift up above the horizon. One more breath in. And then relaxing as you breathe out. You're going to take yourselves into a warrior one to start off with. I'm just going to use my right leg. Mirror me or don't. I still have no idea which way this actually goes when it pops up on your screen. So this is my right leg, this is my left leg. You've got a front leg that's bent and a back leg that's up, and you don't have a tightrope in between your legs. You've got some space. Go ahead and take your arms up. So you're going to pull your right hip back and roll your left hip forward. And then you're going to take your arms and reach them back and try to get your heart away from your thumbs. So you're really stretching and opening up through that chest. And if this feels good, you can stay here. You want to make this a little bit more intense on that right leg. If you lean your heart forward, just make sure that your hip doesn't go out to the right. You want it to reach towards your back foot. One more breath in. One more breath out. Come back up. Reach your arms up and straighten your front leg. Feel your inner thighs lift up just a little bit more. It might help you to square those hips to the front. Be aware whether you're standing on both of your feet. And then keep that lift through your spine, but just take the hands down to your hips. I'm going to draw the elbows back. The intensity of that heart opening is all up to you. But keep the weight in both of your feet as you lean your heart forward. Like you're going to bring your heart into the light being shown up from your imaginary sparkly magic toenail polish. Ears off of shoulders. 2 feet are supporting you. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Draw your belly in. Come to stand up. And then we're going to come to stand up on the right leg. Let's go ahead and lift the left foot up maybe and then set it down. And then find the other side. We'll come into warrior one. I've got my left foot forward. My right toes are up a little bit. I have a little rolling of my hips forward. And then take the arms up to start off with. So you can feel your spine lifting. Make sure that that front knee is no further forward than your ankle and it's facing over your toes. And then take your arms back. You want the palms to face back or towards each other. My fingertips are very excited. If your fingertips are excited, it's going to help to tone those arm muscles because you push that heart out and forward. Make sure that the left hip is still reaching towards the right foot. If you want to make this a little bit more intense, you can lean over that leg, and the more you lean, the more intense it is. So you decide how much intensity your body is on board with today, and you can always take breaks. Take a breath in. One more breath out. And then start to lift up. Come back to warrior one. And then straighten the front leg. Feel yourself lift up a little bit more through the center. Maybe your hips are more squared to the front. Find both of your feet supporting you. Equal weight in both feet. Keep the length in your spine. Bring the hands back to your hips. Draw those elbows back. And then we'll lean forward with the heart over a straight left leg. Still pulling that left hip back. Two strong legs. Squaring the hips forward, heart reaches forward, ears off of shoulders. One more breath in. One more breath out. And then draw your belly in. Come to stand up. And then you're going to bend into the front knee. See if you can lift the right foot up before you set it down. And it's fine if you miss. And then wiggle things out a little bit. You're going to come to a really wide stance. Go ahead and open your arms out to be sure that you've got your legs just about as wide as you can get them. Turn your right toes out to the right. Turn your left toes in a little bit. Bend into the right leg. And then take your hands back behind your hips. Just draw your elbows back to feel your chest open. And keep the chest open as you open your arms again. Pull your right hip towards your left foot. Stay there as you reach out over the leg, eventually taking your elbow down onto your thigh. We're going to take a half bind. So you're going to take the back of your hand into the small of your back, and then press that hand there to open the chest. Make sure your hip's not pressing into your hand. It's your hand pressing into your hips. That's going to help to keep those hips underneath you. Big breath in. Big breath out. Start to lift yourself up. I'm going to come back up to two straight legs and then switch the feet over towards the other side. We'll come into warrior two. I'm going to pop that heel back a bit. Check out the direction of the knees and the toes. Take your arms back. Maybe this time you interlace your fingers for just a moment to stretch out the chest, but you could put your hands on your hips too. I want to feel this lift open in the heart. And then float the arms open, keeping that lift. Keep that wide open, spread out chest as you reach slowly over your left leg until the elbow comes down, and then the back of your right hand comes into the small of your back. And you push the hand in so that the shoulder rolls open and you're not falling into that bottom shoulder. Of course, we're pushing the elbow down to keep the chest open through both sides. Left hip back to the right foot. Big breath in. Big breath out. Start to lift yourself up, draw the belly in, come back up. Straighten the legs. Turn all 10 toes to face forward. We'll come down into a forward fold. Feel free to bend into your knees here if that fold is no good for you. Feel free to be on fingertips or to leave the hands maybe on your shins if you're feeling really good with balance. That might be a good place to be. Try to relax your head. And then bring both of your hands a little bit closer towards your right leg. So you might be able to bring both hands over towards your shins. Maybe both hands are down towards your foot. And then try to lift your tailbone up and back just a little bit. Finish your exhale. And then bring both hands over towards the other side. Feel the tailbone reaching up and back, both hips reaching up and back. And then come back to the center. You're gonna bend your knees, bring your hands to your hips, draw your belly in, lift the elbows, come on up, take it nice and slow. And then when you arrive, we're gonna bring the legs back in together. And our balancing today is going to be standing splits. If you are working, maybe having the head below your hips is like not so good for your body for any variety of reasons. We're just going to work into Warrior 3 because it's going to get about the same type of stretch on the back of the leg that we're going for here. But if you've got anything around, you can have the wall, the couch, you've got stuff around, anything that you could put a hand on. And you're going to stand, lift the one leg up, and it doesn't even have to go high. You could just make sure that that leg is up off of the ground. What's really working here is the standing leg. I'm going to try to bring your torso closer to the standing leg. And if this is going really well, which it might not be, and that's okay, you just stay here, trying to bring the weight onto your standing foot. If it's going really well, you might take one hand and touch that leg. And then just to be sure you're even, you'll take the other hand and touch that leg. You could take both, but it's really hard to do that. Don't worry too much about that crazy of a balance. And then both feet come down together, forward fold. Bend your knees as much as you need. Let your head hang down. If it feels good, you could even grab your elbows and give yourself a little squeeze, a little swing around here. And then bring your hands to your hips, draw those elbows back, lift the heart and the belly to come all the way up. Take your time with it. So in the standing splits, it is really working that standing leg. It's not about how high the leg gets. You'll notice I didn't have mine very high off the ground because it's not that important. If that's interesting to you, you can go for it. What we want to think about is having the support system of that leg that we're standing on be the leg that we're standing on and not where our hands are, because I can be all the way over here and really miss out on a lot of that work here. So go ahead and stand on the other leg. You've got something around that you can hold on to. You can go as far down as you want on it. You're going to try to draw your torso close to that leg. You can have a bent standing leg, especially if you've got hamstring stuff. But make sure the foot is where your weight is. Just go ahead and try one hand to your shin. And then maybe try the other one too, just to give both a shot. You don't have to do them both at once. And then set both feet down, forward fold. Let your head hang. Maybe grab the elbows if that felt good the last time. And then bring your hands to your hips, elbows back, heart up, belly up. You come all the way up. And then put your hands in your back pockets so they're up nice and high on your hips. And we'll let the hips open up and forward. Draw the elbows back. Lift your heart up. And letting the heart lead outwards like it's going to fly away. Take another breath in. And a breath out. And relax the shape. We're going to come down to take a seat. If you have a cushion, a blanket that you'd like to sit up on, that might make it easier for you to do some folding shapes. You can grab that. A little sip of water. Oh. Also, we'll want your friend the scarf, the strap. I'm just going to take your legs open. They might be a little bit closer, in which case you're just going to grab the backs of your thighs and pull your open heart towards your legs. If your legs will open up a little bit more, if that's okay for your hips and your body today, you're going to try to bring your elbows in between the legs and the palms together. They might be a little bit more like this. They might not be all the way down with your hands. You're just going to find where you are. And if you're pulling on your legs, you're letting your heart rise upwards. If you are pushing the elbows, you're going to push down to let your heart rise up towards your thumbs. Take a breath in and a breath out. And then relax this shape. Go ahead and come on back a little bit. You're going to take the left leg out in front of you. Just let the right leg kind of pull in here. We've got a little bit more open space in the hips, which is hopefully going to let me get a little bit more into this fold. Don't worry about dropping your knee down to the ground. Think about your thigh bone kind of pulling into the hip socket. So it doesn't need to, mine will go down, but I don't want to think of pushing that down because you can see how it lifts up my hip. I want to let the thigh bone come in because it'll let my pelvis roll forward. So I'm going to loop the strap, a scarf around the bottom of the left foot. And then I'm not going to go as close as I possibly could because I want to have my pelvis roll forward. So rather than trying to fold my body into the leg, I want to take my hips and roll them forward, bringing my torso with it towards the leg. Yeah. And you can lift your heart, letting the heart open up. You can even try that thought of like, what happens if I do push the knee down versus what happens when I draw the thigh in, which lets my pelvis roll forward more. Deep breath in, deep breath out. And then go ahead and lift yourself on up. I'm going to turn this leg so that it goes up. And you're not going to have the foot and the leg very close together. You might have quite a bit of space. The foot might be way out there if that's how much your knee and things are bending today, and that's going to be fine. Bring it in as close as it's reasonable to you, to where you don't feel like that's insane, but like this is an interesting experience here. And then you're going to wrap around, and now you're going to pull yourself in towards that leg. And if you are like me, you might have your right hip like really lifting up a lot. And it's okay if it's up a little bit. Just relax it. Just to make sure that it's not like gripping and kind of sitting down more. This is a really deep fold. Take a breath in. Take a breath out. And then go ahead and come on up. You're going to set your strap off to your side. You're going to take your right leg and you're going to bring it a little bit closer towards your left leg now, and it could be out a lot further. You might, however, decide to cross that leg over. If that works for you. Got my left toes lifted. Right arm comes in close to my torso. I'm going to lift and twist so I start to get that stretch to the outside of the hip here, which might really need it after all of that folding we just did around it. Take a breath in. Take a breath out. Relax your twist. We're going to go ahead and unwind the legs and find the other side. So awfully far forward. So you'll take that leg in, and then we've got this one. We're just going to fold this foot in somewhere that makes sense to the body. It doesn't have to be right in by the leg. It can be more open. It can be more out. So we'll have this leg just kind of easy, looping the scarf or the strap around the bottom of the right foot. I'm not worrying about necessarily how close the whole torso gets to the leg. We want to feel this pelvis rolling forward over that thigh. And even like think of pulling my thigh in, letting my hips roll out over that leg, which is so much easier when I'm sitting on a cushion. And I still feel all kinds of stretchiness. It's definitely not a cheat or a handicap. It's a beautiful assist to have that lift to the hips of sitting up on something. Heart forward. Think of what's happening at that hinge of your hips, that rolling out over the head of the right femur. One more breath. And start to come up. I'm going to switch this foot. Switch this leg, so instead of the knee being down, the knee is going to be up. The foot probably comes quite a bit further away from you. Sometimes you can have it in pretty close. You're going to get a little bit closer to your foot, and this time we are going to curl inwards. You don't want to hunch back. Not important how far in you get, as long as your back's okay with this, as long as your low back is not having any shooting. And then this hip, instead of letting it continue to roll up, just give it permission to relax down. Sometimes that's all it needed. It's like, I just didn't even know that I could relax. Of course it can relax. Maybe with varying degrees, depending on the day and the body that we're working with at that moment. Big breath in. Big breath out. And then come on up. And release the grip from the scarf. Go ahead and set it off to your side. And then you're going to bring that foot in a little bit closer and a little bit more closed off. You might cross this leg behind or around the other one. It might not. And take the left arm in. Go ahead and hug onto this right side. Lift behind the ears with the inhales and soften the belly to rotate open at the exhales. Keep letting that heart lift and lead you into the twist, but still keeping that spine straight up and down. Breathing in, breathing out. Release your twist. Go ahead and release that leg. Bring the feet up. Go ahead and windshield wiper your knees side to side, just in case any sticky stuff built up in the hips during those folds. And then you'll bring the soles of the feet right up close to the body. Your close to the body might be a lot farther away. Just gonna find a place that feels good to you. We're gonna hold on to the feet and lift the heart up. Maybe hinging forward at those hips, leading with the heart. You don't have to go very far at all. When you feel something, that's exactly how far you need to be going. Hopefully the feel something is good and we stop at the feeling something good before it becomes a little bit too intense. And then in that case, you can just back off. One more exhale. And start to lift yourself on up. If this is not feeling good in your hips, you can extend the legs straight out in front of you. If you feel okay here, we'll just take one side, bend on each side, drop the left hand down, reach the right arm up, relax the hip. Deep breath in, deep breath out. Lifting up, and then finding the other side. Relax your right hand down, take the left arm up and over. Relax the left hip down. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Go ahead and come on up. We're going to close the legs in. And separate the feet quite a bit. If you're on a cushion, you can set that off to your side. You're going to have your hands behind you. You can be on fingertips or you can be palms facing down. We're going to push down into the hands to let the heart lift up. And it could be those fingertips, so it's more subtle, and it's just in the heart lifting out of the chest. If you can push your hands down and get a little bit more of that strength throughout the whole arm, if that's good for you today, you might find some of that. And one more breath in. And then relax with your exhale. We're going to come down and take happy baby, and then we're going to come right back up again. So it won't be fast, but don't get super comfortable coming down. You can grab the backs of your thighs. You can grab with your feet. Grab your hands towards your feet or your toes, your ankles, and rock a little bit side to side. Feeling your thigh bones move around in the hips a bit perhaps. Release your legs, roll over to one side, push yourself up to a seat. And if you've been using that cushion to sit up in a fold, you're going to grab it because we are going to do a big fold. Okay. And Heron pose. It's not important if your leg gets straight. It's also not important if your leg is really close to you. Maybe the leg is very bent and it's all the way out here. But we're going to try to do this with the lifted, strong nature of this open chest, this puffy bird chest we've been cultivating, and also lifting and lengthening through the spine. We've been doing some of that hand to hip standing up to try to lift and build and continue to engage that sort of strength. That's also what I started with core work. I wasn't just feeling frisky. I had a plan. So you're going to take your scarf and you're going to loop it around the bottom of your foot. And I would recommend going closer than you think you need to be, because it's going to be much easier to let the hands slide outwards. And if you're not going to be using both hands, you can just have maybe one hand and then hold the thigh gently with your fingertips just to keep the pressure off of the fingers. So this leg is in a position that is comfortable to me. If this is not comfortable to you, you're just going to go ahead and extend that leg outwards. I find that bringing the thigh bone in and kind of folding the leg in really gives more opportunity to let that hip roll up and stay a little bit more lifted up on your seat. But if you feel differently about that, then make a change so that it feels a little bit more stable for you and your body and your hips. So you're going to get up onto your seat, your foundation. First of all, we'll start there. That's our hips. Start to feel yourself lifted. And then you're going to keep your heart open, keep lifting through the spine and lifting up through the backs of the ears. We're going to lift that foot that's in the strap up off of the floor. And then you're going to start to lift that foot out and away from you. Now, don't worry about how straight the leg gets. You're going to give yourself as much room as you need to let the foot escape. And you're still lifting up through your heart. And then you might notice you have more space. You can kind of pull that leg in a little bit more. It doesn't have to be straight. Is your heart still lifted? Are you still breathing? Do you have one more inhale? Go ahead and bend the knee, set the foot down, and release that strap. Wiggle your fingers out a little bit. And we'll move to the other side. I'm going to show from the side how that starts to look in the body. So you're going to take your strap around the bottom of the foot. My other leg is somewhere that's comfortable to me. Usually in is a little bit more supportive. I've got more foundation, but my foundation, the important part is my hips. So I'm going to get up on those hips, lift the heart, lift the ears, lift long through the spine, and then take the foot up. See if I've still got that heart lifted. And then I'm going to let that foot escape away from me. So I'm not trying to straighten the leg and bring it into my nose. I'm trying to push that foot out. And then notice how that also lifted and expanded through my chest. This is very internal heat, but also outward expansion. All right, maybe you've got one more breath. You can see I'm not rounding through my back here. I'm lifted. Go ahead and relax with your exhale. Bend the knee. Go ahead and take your hands off of that scarf. Sit in a way that's comfortable to you. It's going to take the hands and wiggle the finger bones around each other. And switch the hands and just wiggle the finger bones around each other. We're going to come down onto our backs. This will be our working towards the end of practice. Just go ahead and come on down. When you get there, bringing your knees into your chest again. Go ahead and move your knees a little bit side to side to massage the back. And then set the feet down. Bring your feet out a little bit wider than your hips. Take your arms and open them back to a point that's comfortable to you. I'm going to flex your feet, so you're going to lift your toes up and keep your feet flexed as you let both knees go over towards the right. So that flexing is drawing the toes up towards the shins. So my feet are strong. Just letting the front of my left hip kind of unravel itself here. Don't push your foot on the thigh, just leave it open like this.
So rather than trying to really deepen and prepare for a big hip opener, we're releasing the compression that we've done. Big breath in. Big breath out. Go ahead and bring the legs back up. Relax your toes for a moment. And feel those toes drop towards your shins. And let both knees go over towards the left side. We've got strong feet here. What are the strong feet doing? Making sure that we've got strength and openness and alignment of the knee and the hip. And keeping our intention going all the way down through the leg, not any weird tweaking happen if we let it go. Do let the front of the hip go. Relax into your exhale. Start to come on up. Bring the knees up. Bring the feet a little bit closer together. Draw your arms in down by your side. Wiggle your shoulder blades underneath your back. We've done some chest opening. We haven't done a lot of lower back bend. So this may not be a really big bend through the whole back, but make sure that you keep pushing those arms down to open the chest. That way you'll have a little bit more oomph to this. Push into your feet, roll up, find bridge pose. And again, this might be more lifted in the chest than it is in the hips, but push down into your feet. Feel your tailbone reaching up towards your knees. One more breath in. Soften with your exhale, release all the way down onto the mat again. Just give yourself a breath in and a breath out. And we'll come up again into bridge pose. Push down in your arms. Maybe you hold hands underneath your back this time after getting a little bit more wiggle of the shoulders together. Push down into the feet. Feel the fronts of your hips opening. The heart lifts back and up towards your nose. One breath in. Returning to the mat as you exhale. Just let the knees fall against each other for a moment. Take your knees into your chest one at a time. Cross your right ankle over your left ankle. Reach outside of your arms or outside of your legs. So hold on to your ankles or your shins or your feet, whatever you can comfortably reach. Take a breath in. Take a breath out. Touch the cross of your ankles. Just a slight adjustment to this low back release that we're closing off with. Uncross your ankles, let your feet and your fingers float up in the air, maybe making some circles around in them so that you're not having to work too hard on those hip flexors that we've been engaging all day. Bend the knees, set the soles of the feet down. Open your arms out to a T or a cactus shape or lower. Let both of your knees go over towards the right side. Find as much of a twist as you like. So you might snuggle your left thigh up on top of the right thigh. You might bring your knees a lot closer towards your torso. Being more open is okay too. You push down in the back of your right arm, the left ribs will roll more open. This increases the twist, so go slow for a tender back. Big breath in. Big breath out. And then take your legs back through center. Just moving them over into a similar shape on the other side, twisting however you like. A little bit of an assist to the heart opening by pushing down in the back of the left arm. Letting the right ribs roll more open if the back is okay with it. Soften the belly with every exhale. Deep breath out. Come back to the center. Take a moment finding that center, making any other adjustments and wiggles to help you feel well aligned, and then starting to set up for your final resting pose. Maybe you just let the knees fall against each other. Maybe it's Shavasana or a seated meditation, or legs up against the wall or on a chair, the couch. Noticing before you start to drift off the movement of your breath. We are all united by this divine spark, and we can even think of that just as the miracle of being alive. The miracle of sharing life together. Rest very well.
Start to breathe a bit more deeply. Coming back into your body. Making whatever small movements call to you. When you're ready, bend into your knees, roll over to one side, offering this moment of gratitude for your practice, this time that we were able to spend together. When you're ready, coming up to your own version of a comfortable seat. Sit in whatever position works for you, sit on whatever you like. Perhaps this seat allows you to bring your hands together at your heart. And seal our practice, releasing that sound of Om and oneness and connection. Deep breath in. Bowing down to the love and light that resides within each of our hearts. Namaste.
Have a good week, April.
Thanks.
Thank you, April.
Bye, everyone. Take care.